So today we're going to continue with our 8-week challenge on the 8 parts of speech. And we're going to be talking about adjectives. So let's dive straight in.
So adjectives. What are adjectives? So an adjective is a word that describes a noun or a pronoun and gives us more information about it. For example, it was terrible weather. The word terrible tells us what the weather was like. Spicy food has a strong, hot flavour. The words spicy, strong and hot tell us about the food and of course its flavour. So where do adjectives go in a sentence? Most adjectives can be used in front of a noun. So it was a very beautiful castle. We saw a very exciting film last night. Or an adjective can be used after a link verb, like be, look, or feel. For example, this countryside is beautiful. That documentary looks interesting. Now, a lot of adjectives are made from verbs by adding ing or ed. Usually, ing adjectives show the effect which something has on a person or thing. So here are some examples of ing adjectives. Interesting, terrifying, surprising, annoying, tiring, boring, amusing. We can say, I read a very interesting article in a magazine today. If you say something is interesting, it means that it interests you. That horror film was absolutely terrifying. So if you say something is terrifying, it means it terrifies you. Now ed adjectives. These show what has happened to a person or thing. For example, amazed, bored, horrified, annoyed, confused, delighted, terrified. So let's look at a couple of sentences. We had nothing to do today. We were really bored. So if something bores you, you can say you feel bored. I didn't really enjoy the Dracula film. Most of the time I was terrified. If something terrifies you, you can say you're terrified. So now let's look at the adjective order in English. In English, we often have 2 or more adjectives in front of a noun. For instance, you can say a beautiful young woman, or a small blue car, that scary big dog. Did you know in the English language there's a proper order for adjectives? This is the usual order that we should try to use them. We should start with the quantity of something. We say 1, 2, 3. Then your opinion, so delicious, lovely, strange, misunderstood. Then the size, so big, small, tiny, huge. Then the age of something or someone, so it's old or new, etc. Then the shape, it's round, square, and so on. Then the colour, blue, green, red, black, etc. Then the origin or the material, so it's British, it's glass, French. Then the qualifier, for instance, it's a denim skirt, a vampire bat. And finally the purpose, like mixing, drinking, and cooking. Although you might not ever have seen a list like this, you may have picked up on it and used it without even realizing it. So here are some examples. I carried a very small black suitcase. That is a really ugly wooden chair. I love that really big old green antique car that always parked at the end of the street. Okay, so now we're going to look at comparative and superlative adjectives. What are these? Any ideas? So let's start with comparative adjectives. We use comparative adjectives to show, change, or make comparisons. They enable us to say whether a person or thing has more or less of a particular quality. We can also use them to compare one thing with another. So, Craig is shorter than his brother. Your dog runs faster than Mike's dog. My house is smaller than his. Okay, now for superlative adjectives. Superlative adjectives describe one person or thing as having more of a quality than all other people or things in a group. It describes something as being of the highest or the lowest degree or extreme. For example, best, worst, largest. So, Susan owned the finest restaurant in the city. Paul was the worst footballer in the team. I will explain more on how to form comparative and superlative adjectives in a separate video. Okay, so now for intensifiers. Do you know what intensifiers are and when do we use them? Often when we speak, we use words like very, really, extremely to make adjectives sound stronger. These words are called intensifiers. So let's look at intensifiers in a sentence. It's a very interesting program. The children were very excited. It was a really interesting conversation. Everyone was extremely excited. Other popular intensifiers are incredibly, particularly, highly, so, to, and there are many, many more. Okay, so finally we're going to look at mitigators. What are mitigators? Mitigators are, of course, the opposite of intensifiers. We use these words when we want to make an adjective sound less strong. For example, words like fairly, rather, quite, slightly, a little, etc. So let's look at these in a sentence. The movie was rather dull. The runner performed fairly well, but not well enough to win the race. And they were all a little bit annoyed that the concert had been cancelled.
Well, that's it. So now you know about adjectives. And next week, we're going to talk all about verbs. So don't forget to press both of those like and subscribe buttons below so you get notified when the next video is released. As always, to accompany this video, I prepared some notes which you can download. So you just need to click on the link below in the description box and you can download it straight away. See you next time.